Okay.
Rule 6 is incompetency or inefficiency in the performance of a duty or task. So in the complaint, it reads that a passenger in the car was asked to identify themselves, and they did not comply. And looking at the video and then reading further into it, it is they do not. If you're a passenger in the car and the car is being stopped for a traffic violation, you do not have to identify yourself. It might be requested of you, but you are not the driver and not the reason that the car was stopped. So while I appreciate that, there was some findings here of, you guys don't use the term guilty, but there was some findings in which there were error. I think, and there was two different officers here. I think our officers need to know the policies and the law, and this officer stated very clearly in the video that this was the law. This person did have to provide their ID. The gentleman in the seat said, "This is not the law. I do not have to provide it," and did not do so. And in speaking to the Sergeant
Warnick
here in front of me, that is not the law. So I think our officers need to be held to know what the law is, particularly when we're demanding it of our citizens. So I think that Rule 6 should be added to this violation here, in my opinion.
Yes, I understand where you're at, Alderman. But what we did was we addressed the rule violations that the supervisor put out, and we took the appropriate level of discipline on those two officers with a specification for a training class that will address their deficiencies.
Okay, so that's fine. I think what my concern here is, and that I've talked about this several times in the committee, which is, someone comes in, they make a complaint, and whatever their complaint is, what have come to understand is that by us having OPS, when they review those materials, they obviously are looking for any error. So they will look at the rules that are cited, but they also might look at things that, maybe the supervisor didn't put in there, or that the citizen maybe didn't even know was a rule violation. So it's beholden on our OPS team to point out any violations, whether the citizen or the previous sergeant pointed them out. And so in this case, if you guys want to look at the video, but the officer was very adamant, even speaking in terms of, telling the citizen that he had gone to law school and he knew what the laws were, and that the law stated that this gentleman needed to show his ID. And from my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, but that is not the law.
Correct. And Rule 1 does cover that because it is a violation of state law. He does not have to show his ID if he did not commit a crime. So if there's something that there's no reasonable suspicion that he's about to commit a crime, committing a crime, anything like that, he does not have to give his information. So he was correct. And it is covered in Rule 1. I do understand what you're saying with Rule 6, and it was not added to this. And with the complaint process, when we do the reviews, it is up to the investigator to look at the rules and see what fits. If at some point, which did happen on this, supervisor along the chain of command does see another violation that fits, like this one, they didn't have a ticket book, they ended up adding a rule for not having equipment. So if something like that occurs, they will go ahead and add it. So based on this, I believe the investigator felt that the rules covered the actual violations.
All right, so I for the record, disagree.